I was born, the family, we lived at Zena, at Chai Ponds, Bridge Cottage. And some of my very earliest memories are from people coming to the door selling things, peddlers with suitcases full of haberdashery and things like that. And in particular, I remember Mrs. James coming round with a daughter and son-in-law in a pony and trap, and they sold rush matting and coconut fibre doormats and basketry and things of that kind. Now, they were proper Romany-speaking gypsies. They used to stop and have a cup of tea with us, and they wouldn't do that with most of the people in the village. I once said to my mother, how is it we've always known travelling people like this? She said, I don't know, but my father did. So, been a few generations of us now have been mixing with travelling people, if you like. I was in the Navy during the war, and in the early part of 1945, I was sent to Ainsdale on a gunnery course. And while I was there, I went into Liverpool and visited Dora Yates at the University Library. She was the secretary of the Gypsy Law Society and knew an immense amount about travellers and gypsies of all sorts, and spoke Romany fluently. She once took me to meet a man who made his living busking on the fiddle in Liverpool, called Ben Griffiths, and they spoke in pure inflected Welsh Romany for about 5 minutes, and it was amazing. I've never heard anything like it since. While I was in the library with Dora Yates, she showed me the collection of books about Romany people, and also a whole set of 78 records of gypsy choirs. I think they were from Russia. And I got a little portable gramophone with a fibre needle, and I remember playing these wonderful stuff. Yes, as I got to know gypsies and travellers, I found them very interesting people. They've got a rather different view on life from people living in houses and doing settled jobs. There was a bit of open common land near the farm where I was living, and the Dugdales used to come and camp there sometimes for their friends the Barkers. They used to come out there sometimes for a week or two on end. And yes, I got to know them quite well, and we were always glad to see all those families. And I remember also old Joe Cannon, he said, I'll show you the road to Appleby Fair, and he showed me just how to get there. And when I got there, we were in the pub, and it was crowded with travelling people, and there was one man in particular who came up to me and he said, I'm the miler man from Knaresborough. And that's to say, he kept donkeys, he dealt in donkeys. And he looked at me and he could see I had some idea of what he was talking about, and he rattled off in a sort of a broken pigeon Romany for a few minutes. And I said, I gin what you penned, and that's to say, I understand what you said to me. And he was quite taken aback, and old Joe Cannon's sisters, Margaret and Mary, were sitting close to, and they were quite surprised too. They hadn't realised this gorgeous man that old Joe had brought along was familiar with the language and so on. And it was quite a turning point in my relationship with the whole of the Nicholson family, really. Suddenly they realised that he was someone who understood a lot about them and was quite friendly towards the whole of their culture. The thing about a fair is that it's the only place and time at which the public in general can assemble with the purpose of buying and selling. That can include selling entertainment, and it can include selling your own skills, as for example an auctioneer or a busker and things like that, or a farrier, you know. The police cannot move you on from a fair for obstruction. You can, if a fair is traditionally held in a street, it can carry on. You have to leave enough room for traffic to get through, but they have to find their way through the fair itself. The selling has always been at the crossroads, where the road through to Bampton crosses the old Roman road, and I've no proof whatsoever, but I suspect that the fair might go back to Roman times at that particular place. First time I came to Appleby was 1957, and the first year I tried to get up with horses was 1976, and I'd got a coloured mare, and I thought I'll get her broken to harness and I'll drive her up and I'll sell her as a good one in harness. And I yoked her up. I'd been yoking for a bit, and I had her out the night before I was going to set her off, and as we came across a bit of open moorland near the farm, something upset her and she started kicking, and she smashed the shafts on the little dray I was going to drive up in. And by that time everybody I knew who was involved with horses were already on the road, and so I couldn't turn to anybody for a spare set of shafts. So the following year I thought, really, I'm going to do it this time. And in the meantime I'd had a bow top put on top of that dray. That year we were late, so we might have missed people, but we only saw 3 other horse-drawn turnouts on the road to Appleby. Well, I personally last year saw 180 horse-drawn turnouts, mostly bow-top wagons. And some people say there are more this year. I don't know yet. So when we got up to the flat bit at the southern end of Fell End, and there were a few wagons and trailers, people I knew there, and I thought I'll just show off a little bit. So I got her into a good fast trot. But that wasn't enough for her. She decided to take off, and she set off full gallop pulling the wagon. I remember that we just missed, there's a big tree near the road up there, and we just missed it by a matter of an inch or two. I was just getting her under control when old Frankie Vera saw what was happening. He jumped out into the road, and I managed to pull the 2 horses up just as we got to him. Of course, he's said ever since that he saved my life, which in a sense he was right, he had done, but if he hadn't been there, I think I'd probably survived. Yeah, but that comes to showing off. We're on Fell End, or as it's technically known as Coat Moor, which is a bit of common land, up just in the edge of the Eden Valley, right up on the tops of the fells as you approach the Eden Valley. The Romany people came into Western Europe around about 500 or 600 years ago. I think the first written record of them in Britain was actually up in Scotland, and they'd almost certainly come from India, because their language can be traced back to a classical Indian language called Sanskrit. Yeah, there are four main groups of Romany in Europe. They're the Sinti, who are the Romany people, most of the Romany people here in Britain are Sinti, and they were in Germany. And then the Gitanos down in Spain, and then there are, of course, the coppersmiths, who they travel all around the world. Now, they don't speak Romany, many of them have some knowledge of the Romany language, but they tend to speak a dialect that is different. And the Scottish travellers, for example, they have Romany words in their language, but they tend to also use a lot of words that are descended from Scottish Gaelic. And the Irish travellers particularly, they speak a language that's sometimes called gammon or shelter. And that is definitely related to a very early form of Gaelic, the sort that was spoken generally by Irish people 1,000 years ago.
My name is Billy Welsh. I'm a Gypsy and Traveller representative, and I'm also a Shuraram. Shuraram meaning head Gypsy. I inherited that position from my father when my father died. It was my duty to take over from him as a Shuraram, to preserve and look after the fair for prosperity and for our children, and to make sure it'll go on for generations to come. Well, I've been coming to the fair all my life, and my people came into this country about 500 years ago, in the middle of the 15th century, round about 1450, and we've been coming to this fair ever since. It's the most important date in the Gypsy and Traveller calendar. It's so important to us, I would put it on a level of, it's our Mecca. This is our Mecca. And coming here is something, if you miss it, if you have to miss it for some reason, it's really, really hard. It's like pulling your heart out. Towards it's an ancient land. It's got religious tones about it. When we're here, you get a sense of your ancestry, a sense of your culture and your way of life. The horses, and it's the beautiful place. Well, I mean, you've only got to just take one look at where we're at. It's God's country. It's the most beautiful place in the world. But for me, it's meeting up with my family, what I haven't seen for 12 months, since the last Appleby. And some of them's travelled from Europe, some of them travelled from all over the British Isles, and it's an opportunity for us to all get together again.
Back in about 1965, there were some local residents who wanted to stop the fair because it was noisy and unruly and insanitary, they reckoned, and people throwing rubbish into their gardens and so on. And there was a big meeting at the Shire Hall in Appleby Town where they tried to close it, and in fact they found they couldn't. There were 2 or 3 people who really stood out at that meeting in favour of the fair. One was Gordon Boswell, who was old Gordon Boswell, this is. He spoke very well how important it was for his family and his relatives and his people to come to the fair. And then there was the medical officer of health, and he said, if the main objection to the fair is that the conditions are unsanitary, we don't close the fair, we provide sanitation. And you know, all the people in the Shire Hall said, oh, we'd never thought of that.
You've got travelling families that speak a cant. You've got some Irish families speak Irish cant. You've got some Irish families speak a Gaelic, and some Welsh families that speak Welsh. You've got Romany Gypsies who speak Romany, and of course we all speak English. We've also got some Dutch travellers on here, and we've got some French travellers somewhere as well. So there's quite a variety of different languages, and it's exciting when you're getting towards the fair and you know all your relatives are going to be there, and they're here in the hundreds. Yeah. And we get together. It's just one big beautiful celebration.
Oh, come with me, cries Johnny Farr. Come with me, my dearie, and I vow and I swear by the hilt of a sword. Now let your name on me. These current temporary valiant men, very dark but very bonny. They all lost their life for young, where they've castle run. Now these current temporary valiant men, very dark but very bonny, and they all lost their life for young,
You're travelling up to Appleby, and you pull onto a verge at the side of the road somewhere where there's a bit of grazing and somewhere room for the wagon, maybe a little lay-by like this. And you light a fire and you boil a kettle. And there are motors going past you, but apart from the bit of noise, which can be a nuisance, you hardly know they're there. You're in a different world. You're in the world of horses. And horses come by and you shout to each other as they go. And there may be somebody camping just a few yards away from you, 2 or 3 horses tethered out. And it is an entirely different world.
I would say I was a modern gypsy woman, a very modern one, modern thinking. I would think that a lot of us now could go places and folk wouldn't even recognise us as gypsy ladies. We're not much different these days. It was more important in my time because you didn't see other people for 9 months of the year. Girls didn't meet other traveller boys from other towns for 9 months. But now they go off every weekend somewhere with cars. Young people have cars. I've heard them shouting for your telephone number. We didn't have telephones.
This might not be the right number.
I like these ones. Parents bring them here to get another gypsy rather than marry out of the, into other ordinary boys in town. It hasn't changed a lot. Pardon? This one? These? 39.
Could I have a look at one?
Yeah, of course. No, it hasn't changed a lot really, only that it's not on the road. But we did the same things as what the kids do today. We'd get up, get dressed up, what we thought was dressed up, and walk down to town.
Well, she stepped away from me and she knew through the fair. And fondly I watched her move here and move there. And then she turned homeward with one star awake, like the swan in the evening moves over the lake.
We always just classed ourselves as travellers. But as I got older, I just believed that gypsy was a Gorgia word and traveller was the traveller's word for gypsy. I didn't know there was a difference, you know. In fact, I hadn't even heard of gypsy really when I was little. I'd only heard of traveller. And when I heard the joke about gypsies taking kids away, I was horrified, and we were these gypsies. I didn't know that was travellers, was them gypsies.
Me? Oh, I'm a Didakai. I think a Didakai is like half a Gorgie and half a traveller. So I can live in a house and I can live in the wagon or in an edge. Edge is alright, isn't it? I'm living on a piece of rough ground in a buddleia patch and just with a couple of ponies in a trailer and I just drive them about. Yeah. I don't like houses really, just I'm alright for going and have a meal and sit around with friends but they're hard to sleep in. I can hear electric going around the wires. Horseman, yeah, I like horses. Horses man's best friend. Dog's a second. The dog's still sleeping while the horse is looking. It's about like finding things, isn't it? I think just like going over, finding distant horizons. Where did I learn about horses? I just grew up watching the older men, what they was doing with horses and taking notice, and very observant I was, and used to ask questions a lot and be a proper nuisance to the old boys, like, you know. They knew what they was doing. It's about horses, it's just about travelling, it's just like the outside of a horse is good for the inside of a man, and it's just a good thing in a horse. You know, refuels itself overnight, always starts in the morning, and you will get there. You'll definitely get there. You won't be stuck on the hard shoulder, will you? Take some time.
And you can see everything as you walk in, as you go along, can't you? You can look over the hedges.
You can spot a bit of copper or a rabbit.
Yeah, yeah, and you can talk to people at the side of the road.
Stop,
Yes, when you pass them. Yeah,
yeah. That's all about it. You know, and people are pleased to see you. I think the horse, when you go by with a motor, they don't even notice you.
No,
when you're coming down the road with a horse, they're looking 10 minutes before you get there.
Yeah.
What's this coming then, like, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think it's just a natural thing, really, in a lot of people's horse. You know, they don't realise it, but they do. Most of them look, even if they don't keep a horse, they look and have a look at it. And then you see you go sailing by, and you go, I wish I could do that. I think it all boils down to the freedom, and if you've got a horse, you really have got that freedom, and that's what the set-up people don't like about it, I think, because we can live like they, but they can't live like us. There is lots of little things, a lot of different cultural things. Just the way we live, the way we prepare our food, or the things that we do, just certain things, you mean, certain behaviours that they don't understand.
There's a whole lot of cleanliness.
Different things.
Yeah.
Whereas Gorgia people don't understand that, where we've got different bowls for washing, different utensils, when the women don't allow to cook. You know, and the flowers, they're away from the fire. You know, the woman should never step over the fire. Nobody should step over. Never step in front of it. You know, that's common unwritten courtesy, like fire, sort of. Just around the fire.
You shouldn't throw rubbish in it.
You shouldn't throw rubbish on the fire.
No.
We shouldn't spit into the fire. We don't stand in somebody's fire. You go behind them, like, you mean. It's just like common courteous things in a way, like, it's just, which the Gorgies wouldn't do. They just all wash it in the sink. They wash it around, they wash it, cups and saucers and things. I never leave rubbish. I always take more rubbish away than I come with or created. I don't mind if I have to make a special journey, because I hate to see the ground desecrated with rubbish.
You'll find there's very little rubbish anywhere that the horsemen have left.
No.
Because for one thing, they don't carry enough with them to leave any rubbish, do they? You know, but if they usually take any rubbish with them, whereas the trailers, that can be different. But I'll never forget when I was on the farm and I was up the hill looking for my sheep, and I sat down with my field glasses, and down on what we call Beck Up Top, there was a trailer caravan, travelling man, and he was just getting ready to go. And he pulled a few yards away, he cleared up everything he could see, he pulled a few yards, he went back to see if there'd been any odd tin or cigarette packet underneath the trailer. And then he drove off. And as he went round the corner, a local builder's van came up and tipped all the rubbish just where he'd been. You know, and I saw it.
Well, from being a horseman, I think we have more, like, regard for the land, the ground. Do you know what I mean? Because you know, it's where we're grazing our horses, and it's just about looking after the land. There's nothing worse than waking up in the morning and finding your mare rode on a broken bottle, and there's a bottle buried in her ass. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, I think we have respect for the land.
Any of the boys and it spit on the fire, they get told off for it. And she says, you wouldn't spit in your kitchen, would you? It's the same thing. You know what I mean? And don't stand in front of somebody in a fire. It's an ignorant thing to do. Don't throw bread on the fire because you're feeding the devil. There's lots of things, little daft little silly things, you know what I mean? But they mean something to us, you know what I mean? It's just the customs.
Most travelling people, there are some words in English or in any whatever language they're using, they won't mention. You know, for example, you might hear them talking about longtails. Now, in English, that's rats, but they will not mention rats by name. And a monkey is another one. They won't mention a monkey by name. This is partly because the Romany word for a monkey is virtually the same, or maybe just so very similar that people don't notice the difference, as a ghost. And so, being a bit superstitious, they want to be careful about what they say, because you never know who'd be offended. You know?
There is a myth about gypsies being dirty, but contrary to belief, with the opposite to what people stereotype us to be. We use two bowls. We don't wash our cutlery and our pots in the same bowls where we wash our hands. We have a separate bowl for everything. And cleanliness is like a religion with us. Cleanliness is very extremely important. But the people in the Gorgia Society find this amazing, because it's not what they're fetched up to believe. Do you know what I mean? Well, we're not the stereotype what they think we are. This is my wife Rachel, and that's my sister-in-law Margaret. What's it like to be a gypsy woman?
Well, you can't really answer that question because I've never been nothing else. Do you know what I mean? So
you don't know anything else.
I don't know. We do all the cooking and cleaning and housework, and the men do the work. 99% anyways. You don't see many men washing up and hoovering up and doing any housework at all. They take the boys out and learn them to work, And the girls, like, they leave school at 11 and all, and we learn them, like, to clean up and to cook and keep themselves clean and things like that. There is still a few travel women that do go out walking today, but not as many, do you know what I mean? I would say a gypsy woman's life is getting better, a lot better than what it used to be. If a gorgie marries into, because there is a lot of like gorgies married in, do you know what I mean, to travellers, they're just accepted. We accept them, do you know what I mean? There's no like, oh, not talking to her but she's a gorgie and things like that. They're just accepted when they get married. 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 if you get whichever way, boy or girl, one's the gorgie, one's the traveller, I would say 9 out of 10 take the traveller life. Yeah. Definitely.
Not the other way around.
Not the other way around.
Most of them.
And they accept it, do you know what I mean? I would like people to understand us and like not to judge us without knowing us. Not to just say, oh, they're the gypsies and oh, they're dirty and they'll do this and if they don't know us. I would like that to happen, but I don't think it ever will.
That's not with everybody, honestly.
Not with everybody, no, but in a lot of parts. I would say, yeah, in a lot of parts it is, yeah. When we've been settled for a long time in Darlington, we've been there for years. So the people who know us there, they accept us. Do you know what I mean? Because they know you are. But if you pull like somewhere strange and they don't know you, they're like, they don't want to accept you because they don't know you. They don't know how we go on. So like a better understanding.
Watch back.
Are you a Romany Rai?
Well, one or two people have described me as that, but I don't know. It's, as I say, it isn't a term that's used much these days. In fact, if it comes to that, nor is the English word gentleman used very much these days.
What are you then? How would you describe yourself?
Well, sometimes I consider myself Welsh, but my mother was part Irish and part Yorkshire of a Norse origin, and my father's mother was American, but her mother was German and her mother was Polish. And I had a cousin who was a blood donor and belonged to a rare blood group that is normally only found amongst West Africans. So I think that makes me typically English in many ways. Having said that, I don't know. I suppose if you think of the word Rai in the sense of gentleman, a gentleman really is how you behave more than anything else. You can be an impoverished gentleman with virtually no income and no capital, or you can be very wealthy. And as a general rule, the very wealthy have only fairly recently acquired the wealth and their behaviour hasn't matched up to it. Whereas someone who has virtually nothing at all can have excellent manners and be a friendly, kind person who can mix with anyone. And I like to think that I can mix with anyone because I've had to mix with princes and with senior civil servants and with people who were born in ditches. And I find them all, if you treat them all right, they treat you right. And I think probably that's one reason that I'm able to fit into this sort of life in my own way.
Where did we meet?
I believe it was on Fell End, and we'd come up with a wagon, and I can't have greased the wheels properly because there was one squeaking.
I do remember that now, yeah. I remember.
And there was you and Frank Williams.
20 odd years ago, that is.
20 odd years, yeah, could be more.
A good 20 years.
Yeah.
I got under the vertical and greasy axle, didn't I?
That's right, you did.
I did.
Yeah.
It was squeaking along as if it were a whistle, wasn't it?
It was.
I do remember that now, and now you mention it. He was quite an experience, like, you know, because I'd never met that sort of brake before. But it used to squeak, and it used to pull onto the back wheel, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a Halifax dray.
Halifax
dray.
axle, that's right. It was good, that was.
And then I remember you were at Whitters Fair one year.
Yes.
And you said, have you got any old bits of carts up there at the farm?
That's
and I
right.
took you up, and you bought a whole lot of what to me was
undercarriages, like
those
rubbish.
Springs that had opened up with rust and that.
Yeah.
And the following year I saw you at Devil's Bridge on the way to Appleby.
With one of the carts that I'd made out of your spring.
Come and look at this wagon.
Aye.
And I looked at it and I said, what's special about it? He said, you used to own most of that.
That's true, aye.
Yeah, now. What's the quality?
Never mind the quality, feel the width. Call me Sonny Thorpe, I'm from Chesterfield. It'll be about 140, 150 miles from our place, and we do it in 10 days. And we rest a bit, we booze a bit, we rest a bit, and in general holiday from the word go. And meet people, we meet dozens of people we've never met since last year, we meet people we've never met before. And I go to Appleby Fair because I like it. When I go to Appleby Fair, I go back with money. When I go on my holidays, I come back skinned. You know what I mean? You can earn money on Appleby.
Yeah.
You know, that's another thing, like, I mean, not a lot, like, we don't earn a lot, we only earn a few shillings.
What did you sell on here this year then?
Well, all sort and everything. Old harness, second-hand old harness.
Yeah.
Old-fashioned English harness. Hay racks and carts and wheels.
Can you tell me, Sonny, what makes a good wagon horse then?
I don't know, a good 3-4-year-old, bit of bone, not too big and not too long in leg, something about 14-2. It's quite capable of pulling as much as a big horse. Big wagon horse is not much good for journeys. If you come with iron tyres on the wagon, you'll be far better off because they used to stop the sound of the lorries coming up from behind. It used to break the sound barrier. So the horses didn't know they were coming. We could come with a 2-3-year-old tied on the side, and they've never been on a bypass before in their life and don't even blink to a heavy lorry going past because of that's the reason, because they've got iron tyres.
I'd snared a rabbit. I was then, I don't know, 6 or 7 maybe. I'd tacked the skin to a board, flesh side out, to dry, and I'd put it up in the sun outside my bedroom window. He looked up and he said, oh, you've got a shishi. And I looked a bit blank and he said, oh, that's our word for a rabbit, shishi. That's our language. Further up country, they usually say shoshoi, but down there it was shishi. That, as far as I remember, is the first word of Romany that I ever learned.
Maggie, oh, Maggie, oh, you cut them with your silver tongue. Maggie, oh, Maggie, oh, you hateless, saintless rose.
It's my theory that when metalworking came into Western Europe, when bronze was first used, and copper before that, it must have been travelling smiths who did it. They must have come from somewhere else where they already had the skills. And I think it was the ancestors of the present travelling people who brought metal into Western Europe. And then when they got here, they couldn't get any further because of the ocean, the Atlantic, and they stayed here. And some of them are still travelling. And many of them were metal workers until quite recently, and now many of them are handling metal in the form of scrap.
They sort of change a little bit when they come to Appleby Fair. They revert back to the original. You know, it's like a young horse. If he's been wild all his life and then you bring him tame, your old stallion horse were like that.
Yes.
He'd come into captivity and use and work, and as soon as you lose him, he was back into the wild again. He went back into the wild again, didn't he?
Watch your bags! Look!
She stepped away from me and she and one day I watched her and then she turned home and lost away like a swan in the evening moves over the lake.
He has pulled one up to Appleby, that horse has actually. And now they're just showing how good he is in a flat cart, and they've come down to into Appleby to have a drive. And just show what they've got. People like to show people, other people, what they have, what they own.
The world had a sorrow that never was said, and I smiled as she passed me with her goods and her gear, and that was the last I saw of
Try on a bill now, Jake. Just try it. Good. 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 Right, Jake. Yeah, good take, John, isn't it? Right, good pull, man.
softly she entered, her feet made no dent, and she laid her hand on me, and she did say, it will not be long.
There's the fight.
You get that on your camera.
Oh, they've got
We're extremely proud people. I'm proud of who we are and what we've got. And it comes out a lot in bare knuckle boxing. That is a very, very proudful thing for young traveller men to do and young gypsy men. They all do it. Some of them's good and some of them not so good. But they'll all stand up, they'll all take the shirts off and fight. Doesn't matter if you get beat, win, lose or draw. If you're game enough, I'm proud enough to take your shirt off and stand up for yourself like a man, you gain a lot of respect from our people. A lot of respect. We have unwritten laws that we all abide by. And what we do is if two families is feuding or there's something going on, we'll get the best man from that family and the best one from another family, we'll get them together and someone neutral will referee that fight. It'll be a bare knuckle boxing match till one wins. After the fight's over with, win, draw, lose, the understanding is this: they must shake hands and it must be forgotten. It must be settled there and then. A circle will be made. One of us will step into the circle and one will say, right, does anybody disagree with me refereeing this fight? Has anybody got any problems with it? And they'll all say, no, no, no. I'll say, right, shirts off, Mark Squinsbury rules and abide the law. And when I say break, you break, and when I say the fight's over, the fight's over. And sometimes it's over in seconds. One punch can finish it off. One good knockout blow. Or sometimes young men's got thick skin and they can fight on for up to half an hour. And every now and again, every 4 or 5 minutes, the fight stopped and we say, right lads, you've proved yourself to be two good men, shake hands and forget about it now. And if they say, no, no, we want to fight on, we stand back, so we'll fight on there. We'll let them fight for a little bit longer and then we stop it again. Say, right then lads, shake hands now, shake hands now. Just shake hands and let it, no, no, let them fight on again. So while the one goes down, he can't get back up. If the one goes down, the other one's got to stand back and let him up. And we get him up, and you're alright, give himself a check. Can you fight on? If he says yes I can fight on, we say fight on there. If he says no I can't fight on, that's the end of the fight. Because some young men's hearts is bigger than their capabilities. So sometimes we have to rescue them from themselves. And the referee's law, where does law? You raise the hand of the winner, and saying, that's it, now we shake hands. But the young man who's been beat has got nothing to be ashamed of, and he gets the same admiration from the crowd as what the winner gets. They both get a good pat on the back. They all shake hands, and 9 times out of 10, we all end up in the pub.
Oh, the road is long, but the way is sweet, and the moon hangs high on the hill, for the soft night air in your shining hair. I will be a rover still.
I'll tell you, I'll tell you once. Yeah, I think she was about 102 when she died. She's a sit. She never used to go to sleep, you know, Tom. She sits inside the wagon with a sheep mat. All pulled in that corner, and whatever time I was on that gate, if I walked around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, she'd be just sitting, staring at the mills.
Yeah.
You couldn't understand a word she said. Just spoken Romanist all the time, but very, very fast and very old Romanist. You couldn't and she was hard to understand. You'd pick up words, or you just kept nodding your head and say, yes, Anthony, no, I can remember. And she'd just keep talking.
First time I saw her, she was a young woman and beautiful.
Oh, she was a good-looking woman, yeah.
Down the Roman road here, she was with her brother Lawrence.
Yeah.
And they had a Bender tent, and they were in that.
Bender tent?
Yeah.
Hey, there you go. Beautiful. Thank you, Jake. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Right, kids, should we load them up?
In 1492, King Henry VII made an order that because the charter of King Edward III in 1322 had been destroyed when the Scots burnt and destroyed the town, he said that the town could have its customary fairs and markets. And in fact, in 1877, the town clerk of the day accepted that this was so, and that it's the foundation of the rights of the town. The law recognises that there have always been difficulties at fairs, things like obstruction and public order, theft and the sale of stolen goods, problems with standard weights and measures and so on. And it recognises that in spite of occasional abuse, the right to hold a properly managed fair is of very considerable importance to the economic and social well-being of those that attend, and in fact to the whole economic community. There was an old man called Fred Pickup, and on one occasion, when he was an old man, he set off with a wagon and 14 horses on his own. He had them about 5 abreast at the front and goodness knows how many behind, all tied on the back of the wagon. And he must have spent half his day just tethering them and untethering them again, just to move, you know. But he got there. He got to from Leeds to Appleby. I was down at the crossroads at the fair when he came, and he was 80. And as he came through the crossroads, the whole crowd started applauding him. He took not the slightest bit of notice of that. I don't think he even knew it was him they were applauding. There's Tony Price, Tom.
I can remember when I was a little boy when we used to come, it was moved off the hill and moved onto the sides of the roads. And we used to stay up the sides of the roads, up Long Martin Road, right going on towards Brampton. And as the years went by, as I grew to a young man, the gypsy and traveller population expanded. And the lines of caravans got miles and miles and miles, and going too far eventually. And then they moved it back onto the hill again, Gallows Hill. They used to do public hangings on here. Probably a few of our boys went on the end of that roofs as well. Well, a wet Appleby Horse Fair, how can I say, it's a complete nightmare with them. It's not so bad up here now because we've had the hill land drained just in case we have another one, and it doesn't bog up anymore. And we've put these stone roads in all the way around, so they're using the roads. The grass is land drained, so we don't have any big problems now. But down in the market fields and the other fields, it just turns into a complete swamp. Well, we've suffered centuries of persecution just for being who we are. We've been tortured, murdered, mutilated. We've been transported to the colonies just for being gypsies for no other reason. In some people's eyes, being a gypsy was a big enough crime to persecute us. We've been slaughtered in the hundreds of thousands in Nazi Germany and in Russia. And at the end of it all, after all this persecution and centuries of it, we've managed to hang on to our culture and our way of life. So the logo is Sastatiag Nastik Pagarel Amoro Doko, which means iron and fire cannot break our spirit. Every big family has a shoulder room. You inherit it if you earn it. My father passed this responsibility on to me because he always knew I was the man for the job. But there's more to running this fair, and there's more to being head of a family than just fighting. There's a lot of speaking at meetings and communicating with people and being able to negotiate with people and being able to go and represent your people, being articulate enough to represent your people. It's a lot more complicated than just standing on that gate with your shirt off and being the best man on the fair.
Robert Dugdale, my name is, and I just see having a good time. A travelling man, travelled all my life, that's always done all our life. Me and my family before me. My mum's people, Nicholsons, they bury them in a place called Long Martin, a village in Long Martin. And every time they bury a Nicholson in that village, they read back the history. The first one that was there, you know what I mean? The first one that was buried there was in 18 something on his way to Appleby. Every year it was getting bigger. It'd be a good thing if it was just horse stuff. I'm not a motorman and trailer man, you see, you know what I mean? If it was just now but horse tackle, it'd be like going back in history, wouldn't it? It's going back in time, aren't it?
Come all you lasses and dealing men, you travellers.
Why somebody comes and If they look round it and if they fancy it, they have a deal for it.
Everything's there. There's nothing broke.
There's nothing broke.
Oh, there's one there.
I say that's it. No, that's it.
Because 1.5. Give me a tenner on them.
It's that much.
Don't mess about. Give me money back from them.
It's that much.
Last night there was that.
Why, they shan't pick up. If they watch long enough, don't they, Walter?
That's what I call myself.
And I think some people when they say I don't say I'm a traveller. Because to me a traveller is
an Irish person.
Yeah. An Irish person. Irish people isn't proper gypsies.
Yeah, now, but I was brought up
Wait.
using the word traveller.
I think you've got a bit of if someone says...
Everyone says that. A lot of like your kind, I'm not saying that in a bad way, do think that we're Irish people. But to us, when we're like Irish people, it's like, you can't understand them, like, yeah, this, that. You can't understand them to us. We can. Yeah, but I'm just...
Yeah, gorgeous Irish is different than ours. It's all talk slower.
So she just said now, we said to us, to them, she thinks that I sound very Irish when I talk, but I talk fast.
That really
is so
gets to
not
me.
true.
That is one of the most aggravating things when somebody says that to me. Because I'm like, what? Dirty? Have you seen my hands for bleach? You know, I'm constantly scrubbing and cleaning.
My dad prides himself, he'll turn around and say, you know, he'll make sure when he moves the trailer, he'll say, right, get a bag, girls, pick up every paper, even if it's a chewing gum paper, a fag stump, pick it all up, because I'm having nobody talk about me. I've never had it done in my life. He prides himself in saying that nobody's ever talked about, you know, he's never been thrown off anywhere, he's never left any rubbish, nobody's ever talked bad about him. And my dad prides himself on that, and I'm the same even in our generation.
My father raised me to do it. He educated me to do it. He showed me how to do it. As I was growing up as a child, he showed me how to handle people. He taught me how to fight. I've done a lot of bare knuckle fighting. I've had about 60 bare knuckle fights. I had quite a few fights in the boxing ring as well, as a young man. But that's not what it's about. My father earned that right, and he'd done the job, and they loved him for it, and respected him for it, for looking after the fair, and looking after gypsy people, travel people in general. Shara Rom means head gypsy. Shara is head, Rom's gypsy, Shara Rom. And it is a great honour to do it. It makes me feel very proud.
I'm on the sick list.
He's here in bed.
Oh, he's there?
He's here, he's not so good.
Oh, how are you, Walter? Same as last year, I think.
Never the same thing again.
Yeah.
Right, I'll have to, if he's come round, I've got some cars and things in the way.
All
right. Right, Tom, I'll follow you. Good one. Welcome, lad. Good lad.
Well, I've seen the trailers glittering away upon Fair Hill, and I've spent the night beneath the stars and smoked and drunk my fill, with a bottle of the best poteen going round and round the fire, and we sang and danced and danced and sang and thought we'd never tire. And next morning, bright and early, boys, we yoked up for the road, and our horses both were keen and fresh, and they made light of the load, until Sedberg town come into view, and we loosed out for a while, and then the road divided, and we parted with a smile. And that night we spent at Melling Green, by the waters of the Lune, and the whistles played and the fire cracked on by the light of the silver moon, and the fiddles and the banjos, they played the night away, and next morning, bright and early, boys, we trotted on our way.
I think we'll have to just keep fighting on for what we believe in, and pass it down to the children that they have to fight for what they believe in. Keep this way of life. To remember that they are gypsy people and travelling people, and not to go into the settled way and
Never to forget their identity.
Never to forget, like, really who they are. Be proud of being who they are.
On the weary, hard times, come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times, come again no more. While we seek youth and beauty, and music bright again. Their fair voice, they though their voices are silent, their pleading lips will say, oh, hard times, come again no more. There's a song, a sigh on the weary, hard times, hard times.
I love it when they're pulling on, and when they go, I hate it. I sort of, my heart sinks. I want it to stay because I want it to go on forever. Maybe when we die and go to heaven, this is what it is. Appleby Fair in heaven, and the journey to it.
There's a song about that, isn't there?
Little but they're good workers.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. There you go. You can stay there for a minute, can you? How you want them? Oh. Well, you made it, Walter.
Yeah, I've made it.
Little white lines creep inside, distort all I see. It's not a place I wanna be. I'm too hung up in corners cut, empty glass, I'll fill it up. This road is killing me, so I'll step aside. Colors flow within my mind. I told your heavy load can leave you wanting more on the road. To see it from waist, shoulder, face, gonna put you right back in your place. If you think you're tricking me, this road is long to sing my song, pick myself up and carry on. This road, it sets me free, so I step aside. Colors flow within my mind. To tow your heavy load can leave you wanting more.
Travelling people have rights, the same as anybody else. In fact, when they've gone home, they are anybody else, a lot of them, So, yes, a fair is a very important thing, for, apart from anything else, for our freedom.